That was really good, man.
Thanks, dude. I was in a barbershop quartet back in the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you cut hair too, or did you just sing?
It's separate gigs in my life, actually.
What?
Yeah.
Explain.
No, I never worked in a barbershop. That'd be cool, though.
Oh, well.
I was just in a barbershop quartet. We did little singing Valentines and telegrams and stuff. Hello, hello, hello. And then it's kind of weird because you're kind of seducing somebody else's girl, but they're paying you for it. It's like a weird, like, you're paying me to, like, you kind of thing.
Nice. Welcome to the show, everyone.
Are you serious? Did you record that?
Absolutely.
Oh my god. Okay. I was in a barbershop quartet. It wasn't weird like that though. I thought that was between me and Marshall.
This episode of Cinema Lounge Presents, we're talking about Creed 3, the third Creed movie, the one that came after the second one, and the second one came after the first one.
Correct.
The first one came after Rocky Balboa. Rocky Balboa came after Rocky 5. Rocky 5 came after Rocky 4. Rocky 4 came after Rocky 3. Rocky 3 came after Rocky 2. Rocky 2 came after Rocky 1. And that is the first one.
Yeah, Rocky 1 came after Sylvester Stallone sold his soul to the devil in return for being awesome.
That's
That's what happened.
that song. Welcome, everyone. We're going to talk about that. Check it out.
We're smoking today in the lounge, as you can hear from Marshall's phlegm.
Yeah.
There's just a haze of tobacco and masculinity
There is a haze of Tabasco.
and virginity.
That has to be our tagline somehow.
Yeah, we'll work
Cinema
it in.
Lounge, a haze of Tabasco and virginity.
They go together, if you can believe it. This is cool.
Well, everyone, welcome to this episode of the CLP.
Yep.
We're talking about Creed 3,
Yeah.
directed by Michael B. Jordan. Very cool.
What's Michael B? He B. Jordan.
He be Jordan. Wait, is that guy... Is anybody Jordan around here? Has anybody been Jording?
Michael! Hey, Michael! You're going to love this. Michael B. Jordan all the time.
Ooh,
Come on.
Michael B. Jordan.
Get in here.
Dude, Michael's Jordan over there.
What? Ooh.
It's crazy.
Don't look at his Jordan. He should put that away. So, this is his directorial debut.
Yes, directed by Michael B. Jordan, written by Keenan Coogler, Zach Balin, and Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler did the story. Keenan Coogler and Zach Balin did the actual screenplay. Score was Joseph Shirley. Ludwig Göransson was the previous two who did The Mandalorian and all that stuff. Joseph Shirley, I looked at his credits and it looks like he also worked on The Mandalorian
Cool.
and Boba Fett, and I don't understand where, because to my knowledge that was all Ludwig Göransson.
Sometimes they do like collab stuff, like when they like go in and produce together. I feel like
I don't know, maybe
it's
he's
kind
just
of like
one of his
how
buddies.
I feel like how like Hans Zimmer gets like all the credits, but he actually has like 3 understudies that like do little things for him.
I guess maybe when
Maybe
he's
it's
got
like
all
that.
his Tina Guo follows him around and plays the cello all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cinematography is Kramer Morgenthau, who also did Chef, Fahrenheit 451, also starring Michael B. Jordan, and Creed 2 as well. Performances: Michael B. Jordan, Jonathan Majors, Tessa Thompson, Felicia Rashad, Mila Davis Kent. That's their daughter.
Yep.
Synopsis of the movie. I just had some stew, and I gotta clear my throat.
Beef stew. Next Cinema Lounge Presents has to be Benchwarmers.
Beef stew? Oh, okay.
Yeah, anyway.
Synopsis. Adonis has been thriving in both his career and family life, but when a childhood friend and former boxing prodigy resurfaces, the face-off is more than just a fight.
Wow.
Ben,
Yes.
we need to talk about non-spoilers. The last few CLPs, we just don't even think about it. So I want to go non-spoiler for a little bit and then talk about spoilers.
Yeah. This is like, I feel like there's probably enough people out there listening who are waiting for this to come to streaming and DVD.
Yes.
So that makes sense.
I mean, we should do it for anything that's contemporary that we're reviewing.
Yeah, but especially,
And we just haven't.
Yeah,
And we're
that's a good
fools.
point. That's a good point. We're fools. That's okay.
I added a spoiler alert after the fact, I think for the Avatar episode.
Oops.
Because I was like, oh, Well,
Yeah.
whoopsie.
Yeah, they're fine.
So, Ben,
Yeah.
Creed 3. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
No spoilers? I'm imagining there's someone in the room right now who hasn't seen the movie. We'll name him Frank. What do I think about the movie?
Yeah.
I hate when people ask me that when I'm like imagining there's someone in the room who hasn't seen it, because then I don't want to like say something that makes them not want to go see it. I think it's worth people's time to go see it.
Were you not a huge fan?
It's not going down as like my favorite movie of all time, and probably not my favorite movie of the year.
Sure.
But even like probably, I don't know. It was good. It was fun. I watched this on my own after school one day in the theater. It was me and 3 other people. 2 of them were on a date. One of them, no, that's a lie. There's 4 other people. Both were like couples, and one of them was sitting in front of me, and I had to keep blowing in front of me because they kept vaping and it kept getting in the way of the screen.
What?
That's what you get for going to a movie at 4 o'clock. But so it was. I feel like it was a fun. Get your popcorn, sit down, enjoy the cinema. I think it was fun on the big screen. It was exciting, and I think it had a fun blend of. I think it was emotionally moving, and I think it was more than just the boxing. I think it captured some human emotion, human connection. Well, it wasn't just it wasn't just your. It had more than just the cliche sports movie. I think
it could
it
have been just Rocky again, but they
Yes.
did something cool with it.
Yeah, and
They kind of mirror Rocky 2 a little bit.
Yeah. I think the family dynamic was really compelling to me.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of someone that's in there, I don't actually know how old Adonis is supposed to be in this film. Late 20s, 30s?
Probably
Past his prime, so probably in his early 30s
I would
maybe?
guess probably just however old Michael B. Jordan is.
Oh,
at
that
this
could
point.
be. Okay. But I think the idea of somebody not really dealing with their past trauma or their family trauma until their 30s was compelling to me.
Yeah.
I hope that's not spoiler. I think that's kind of in the
No, I mean
thing
that's
that you
one
read.
of the themes of the movie is like
The face-off is more than just a fight. You said it in the IMDb.
his childhood friend comes
thing.
back, played amazingly, beautifully, wonderfully by Jonathan Majors.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors, when he has a really good script, is really good.
Yeah.
And when he has a bad script, is still really
Pretty good,
good.
huh?
Like he does a good job with whatever he's given.
Oh, I'm looking forward to asking you to rank the script. Do you think it's a good script?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think so. I think that if we're going through script, score, cinematography, performances, directing, visual effects, where it applies, visual effects was done by Crafty Apes. There is some visual effects in this. Mm-hmm. There's one sequence in particular.
The fight.
Yeah, the final
end.
fight, the sequence in the final fight that's like really cool.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, Michael B. Jordan talks a lot
Was
about
it
how
too
he's
stylized
a big,
for you or not? Did
No,
you like that?
I wanted more.
Okay.
He talks a lot about how he's a huge anime fan, and he was trying to bring some of that like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto
cool.
style fight sequence to this.
Interesting.
And I can see that in some of the fights, like in the first fight of the movie where he's going in a rematch against the guy from the first one to become the heavyweight again, champion of the world. There's a couple shots there that go into this cool slow motion thing. There's like this focused on his face slow motion, and you can tell like he's focusing on this. He's like learning what this guy's doing, and I was like, oh, that's super anime. That's super like if you just put I can see that there's something going on this side of his body. I can see the if I just strike him right there, like. You just put that anime monologue right there, and it would fit perfectly.
Yeah.
And I really wanted more of that. And I was kind of disappointed they didn't they didn't lean into it as much as they did in that early scene.
Yeah.
There was still parts in different fight scenes. I guess we'll talk about cinematography at this point. But it was mostly just the way that they shot certain scenes, the fights specifically, that leaned into that the most. Where they would sometimes go into a fish angle lens or a fisheye lens, that's it. And just like the specific angles they would choose and the camera moves and the places where they would choose to ramp the footage, which if you don't know, for the Smart List, they have Sean's sister, Tracy, who knows nothing about movies and watches like nothing. So they always explain Tracy is their layman, essentially. So
Gotcha.
for Tracy, like, because they're talking to some famous person who's talking shop with these other famous people,
Yeah.
and then they'll be like, DP stands for Director of Photography Tracy. And then keep going. Thank you, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Gotcha. Okay.
So for us, for whatever that is for us, are we still recording? Why is that black? Oh, it's weird. It was just because I selected it for some reason.
Phew. Okay. So
what was I saying?
You're talking about the fisheye?
Fisheye lens. That's like the weird wide angle. There was something else I was trying to think of. What was it?
Something that you need to explain in layman's terms.
Yes.
I don't remember what you said.
Crap. What was it?
I don't know.
Well, they go to these different specific angles and shots that really mimic ramping the footage.
Oh.
So what that is that in an action scene, obviously they're not really hitting each other in a way that actors are careful. So they're not necessarily going full force. In a way that they will trick you after the fact in post to make it look like they're moving a lot faster is they'll just like cut a frame or two out, like almost right before the hit. So you're punching, and then it's like boom at the follow through.
There's one guy punching another. Man one punches man two. He's throwing shadow punches like 10 times to get the speed right. 1, 2, 3. The guy's like getting ready for it so they can time it right. 1, 2.
Sure.
And when they get to 10, man 2 puts his face in the way and gets punched. And
they're never actually punching each other.
But they're like pretty close, right?
Yeah, well, I'm sure that maybe for the boxing stuff they are actually punching a little bit. But like in fight scenes, there's like you're very close, but it's all stunts, it's angles.
Oh,
you know.
So I saw some stuff with this one where they are there's the two guys, punch 1, punch 2, punch 3, punch 4. Then on punch 8, Michael B. Jordan puts his chin in the way and like doesn't act. I mean, he's not taking a full on punch, but it's like he's just timing where he can actually get it close, and then I guess we're talking about the same thing. Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah. So that's kind of the idea, but like this is in the editing. Yeah, they'll physically take frames out to make it look faster.
Oh, got it. Okay, gotcha.
That makes it look kind of anime because the specific way they ramp it makes it like, and all these very quick, fast choreography that isn't really realistic to boxing necessarily, but looks really cool.
Got it.
And like just the way they move the camera. There's one shot in I think maybe the final fight where Jonathan Majors Damien does an underhanded gut punch to Adonis, and you see his arm go and then hit him, and then you see Adonis's body just like boom, and like the sweat on him go flying, and that's very anime in the cinematography as well.
Yeah, interesting.
I think that's really cool. Just the influence that they took there, I wasn't involved, that they took there to kind of heighten those fights and kind of make it much more unique. In the Lost Rocky episode, I talk a little bit about how they, in that initial first movie, that fight at the end has like 3 angles to it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we did talk about that.
There's just a camera moving around. There's close-up shots for when they do a specific hero shot, which are probably inserts. After like they do a whole master shot, and then there's a above view, which was a really interesting weird choice, but that's probably just to get a lot of coverage. And it is just like, it's not very creative, but it works. This is them, like 8 movies into this franchise essentially, being like, what can we do differently, how can we change this? And I think that it is really interesting what they did, and I want to see them lean further into it. I want to see them go Sam Raimi levels of weird with their cinematography.
Sure.
And everything else, like the regular cinematography, all the normal stuff, also looks good. It's nothing like Deacon's level beautiful, but there's nothing that's like, that looks bad.
Yeah.
Like it always looks at least good.
Yeah.
It's all good cinematography.
I think some of the stuff that felt What is it that I want to say, like the color grading? I'm thinking specifically of when Adonis is in his training camp versus when Damien's in his training camp.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to think.
It's different vibes.
Yeah, like they're like, I think that was something I noticed at least.
It's like very Rocky 4.
Yeah,
The way that you see Rocky out in the wild, and it looks very natural, and then you see Ivan Drago in the laboratory, and it looks like a laboratory.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
Just visually in the grade and the way it's shot is very locked off, as opposed to Rocky's montage, which is more like moving shots, tracking shots, and everything.
Yeah.
That gives it more motion, as opposed to the much more robotic Russian stereotype that we have over here. There's a little bit of that.
Speaking of which, speaking of callbacks, I think that...
Careful about spoilers.
Okay, yeah, no spoilers. I think in Creed 1, 2, and 3, I think they do well forging their own story off of the Rocky franchise.
Yeah.
And there's moments of callbacks like that. I mean, there's a thing that makes you... There's parts of the movie that make you feel like you're watching a Rocky movie or watching something in this vein. There's themes, there's feelings, there's... little callback moments, and for this one, which is it seemed like there was drama behind it beforehand, but we should talk about this. There's notably no Sylvester Stallone,
no Balboa
as Balboa.
Yes.
So I'm curious what you think about this. This feels to me, one, it's Michael B. Jordan's directorial debut, but also now a movement away from this grounding piece that has been throughout all the stories. Yeah.
Do you want to know why he's not in it?
He had a spat with the producers?
Yeah, so Irving Winkler or something like that. Winkler, I don't know exactly. He's been involved in all of these movies from the beginning, from Rocky 1, and Sylvester Stallone just kind of started to take issue with the amount of stake that these guys had in it versus what he was ever making off of this thing that he created. And, you know, it's a very Beatles-esque, like, I'm the biggest guy in the world now, but I made a bad deal when I was a little guy. But that doesn't mean he doesn't deserve a bigger cut of what's going on here. So for that reason, he's out. If this is the Shark Tank, I guess. But I think that it works against it in certain ways because there are certain events that happen in this movie that I think Rocky would have flown across the country to be there for, like he does in Creed 2 when they move to LA. And it feels a little weird that he doesn't. I don't think about it in the moment, but thinking about it after the fact, I'm like, it's weird that Rock would not have gone. And maybe it's because Creed 2 ends with him going to see his son and his grandson, and maybe he's happy and settled there.
Or even if it's
but we don't know.
Even I feel like a lot of other series that do something like this, there's a phone call, there's a Zoom call where it's like, I wish I could be there, kid. But
which I'm glad they didn't do that because that's always so weird and it never works and it just feels awkward. And I think that there's certain ways like that it feels like he's absent. But in a lot of ways, I think that it's good that we're still, like, the story is still rooted in that. Like, the whole premise of this is that Damien wants to be a prize fighter, and he wants to get a chance at being the heavyweight champion. And the precedent that he uses for that, of an unknown being given the chance to be the heavyweight champion of the world, is exactly what happens in Rocky 1, where, I mean, literally, it's very similar. Like, Damien... I'm not going to say specifics, but things happen very similar in the way that they do in Rocky 1, where a fighter has to drop out, and then last minute, a Creed has to be like, well, who are we going to fight? And they pick out this guy. And in Rocky 1, it's for the reason of, look, his name is the Italian Stallion. That's perfect for our PR. And in this one, there's different reasons that are more concrete and specific, but it's still rooted in that original story. Even though it's still rooted in that story, I think it's good that we get to move past Rocky. And we get to move this firmly into another direction. And without getting into spoilers, I also don't know, though, where we would go after this with Adonis. And we can get into that with spoilers. Let's talk. Yes.
One more
you
thing.
Say your thing now.
I have two things.
You say two things now.
One thing is
say one thing
back
now.
to your initial question, which was, would I recommend this? Yes. I would recommend it. But I think I have a personal debate. I don't know what I think about this, where one half of me is like, it's really nice to pop the popcorn, sit down, watch the movie, enjoy the movie, kind of know how the formula works. It's good. And like I said earlier, there were themes within the movie that spoke to me and was
The
enjoyable
Rocky
experience.
theme,
Yeah,
the Creed theme.
Yeah. Shut up. Yeah. No, not. We're not the score yet.
Okay.
And boxing scores are really confusing. I don't understand it. However, I think the plot is pretty predictable.
Sure.
And in the very beginning of the movie, I predicted one of the twists on my own. Like, oh, I know why that happened in the film. And then they reveal it later. And I don't think they try to make it seem like a huge twist, but
I think I know what you're talking about.
With,
and I think
with the hand smashing.
Hand smashing.
I can't do it without spoilers. Anyway, I think it's pretty predictable, which is comforting in some ways.
Oh yeah, no, I got that.
Yeah. Comforting in some ways. In other ways, it makes me feel a little bit like I walked out of the theater and I was like, man, it was fine. If you like this kind of movie, if you're feeling like a heart.
The cunning warrior attacks neither body nor mind.
Tell me how!
The heart, Osborne. First, we attack his heart.
Warming, or if you're feeling like a sports movie that's kind of uplifting, go for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, that was thing one. The last thing I figured I'd throw in because I just saw it.
You can't say thing one and thing two because that is copyrighted.
Ooh, awkward.
That's Dr. Seuss.
That is weird. That is also what Adam Savage calls his kids.
That's racist.
In all of his podcasts because he never wanted to say their names.
Just kidding. I respect that.
Before we move on into spoilers, final thing that's not a spoiler for me anyway. Box office would call it a success.
Boxing office.
Yeah. Boo.
Oh.
Box office success. The budget was around $75 million.
Yep.
And U.S. Canada gross was $112 million.
U.S. Canada? Gross.
Gross U.S. Canada.
Ew.
Gross worldwide.
Ew.
$190 million. So $75 million gross worldwide. $190.
So I mean that's a profit.
Yeah.
Because this is you always have to take into account that like the marketing and promotion of a movie is often like up to half of the budget. So if you double that, or like what it costs, not the budget, if you double that, essentially, then you're still making a profit there. So it's meager, but it's still a profit, and I think that's enough that, especially with this largely being bankrolled by Michael B. Jordan, and it's a big franchise. I can't talk anymore.
French fries.
It's a big French fries. It's a big franchise that all these producers are still attached to. It's not going anywhere unless they make one that's actually bad. And even then, Rocky still came back.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
I think that's a good success. Those are good numbers.
Yeah.
For this movie that probably wasn't like super hotly anticipated by anyone necessarily.
Yeah, I think there's people who are fans of Creed 1 and 2 who were excited for Creed 3.
I got really pumped for this movie.
Yeah.
Because I started to see trailers and I was like, oh no, I really like the Rocky movies. I really enjoy this stuff.
I was hyped for that. I was also pretty hyped for Jonathan Majors, and I think he really fulfilled the hype.
He was the main reason that I was like, I want to see this.
Yeah.
Those two playing off of each other looks really interesting, and it was. The two of them, we can talk about performances a little bit. The two of them were great. Everyone in this does a very good job. Tessa Thompson is a good actress. She's just kind of there. She doesn't do anything special or fancy or whatever, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's not her role in this.
Yeah, I think the marital conflict between the two of them was like well acted.
That's true.
It was believable for me.
That's true. I mean, I was thinking about conversations that me and Laura have even had of like
figure shiz out.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, not even that. More, I'm just thinking about like he'll be thinking about something that happened in the past, and she's like, "What's wrong? Like, let's talk about it. You want?" And he's like, not talking, and he's not being honest about it. But she's just being like, "Okay. I mean, if you want to talk about it, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, no big deal."
Yeah.
And that's like the way that me and Laura, our dynamic is a lot of the time. Just like, I'll ask her because she's clearly upset about something. And I'll ask her like, "Hey, what's wrong?" She's like, "Nothing." It's like, okay, well, that's not true.
Yeah.
But we can talk about it later, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing for me and Kate, getting to the point where it's, okay, I've told you enough times, like, we can talk about it later, but Ben, it's time to figure your crap out. Or like, it's affecting everybody now. Or your inability to process this thing is actually hurting everyone around you.
Which
now.
that's what is the Creed story here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
That, and I think that's a really interesting dynamic between the two of them, between him and
His mom.
his mom.
Yeah, Felicia Rashad.
Yes, who's also so good in these movies.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
very good in these movies.
Yeah.
She kind of takes on that Rocky role a little bit in this one, I would say, of being that mentor
Yeah.
to a certain degree.
Yeah, also that thing that everybody experiences, which is when your parents think they made the best decision for you and it hurts you
Yeah.
and you disagree with it
It's
and you're in
something
conflict
else.
with them. Yeah. And maybe they made the right decision, maybe they didn't.
But it
Regardless,
ultimately doesn't really
it's-
matter at that point.
Right. Regardless, it's affecting your relationship and maybe affecting your ability to live like a normal human.
Yeah.
And every parent does it.
Can you live like a normal human when you're a super rich guy living in LA in like a penthouse with a pool overlooking over the hills?
Yep.
Up in Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills.
Me and my new Lamborghini.
Regardless, her role as Claire Huxtable in this was really, really good.
Very good. The best. Dude, I loved that they got a deaf actress, a young deaf actress, to play the daughter. She was very good. I thought she did a really good job. This is a good year for little deaf actors and actresses.
Because of
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us.
Is there another thing?
No, I was just thinking about the Oscars last year with.
Who gives a crap about Coda?
Okay, what?
Coda is the most milquetoast, nothing feel-good movie, and there's no way it deserved to win Best Picture. That's nonsense.
Wow.
It is
I think
crowd-pleasing,
I think-
okay movie.
I think like
that says nothing.
I think it's important. I think it's holding an important story and it gave voice to people who don't have voice in cinema.
Representation is nice.
I think is great. I think sometimes being
as
bold.
the sole reason to win Best Picture,
No one ever done anything like that.
it's nominated, and it deserves
Yeah.
to be nominated.
Yeah.
To win? I don't think so.
I think by doing something new and exciting that can give you extra points, and I think it was important that it won.
I think
that's just
that
me.
was the sentiment in a lot of ways at
Yeah.
the time, and
Yeah.
I think looking at the sentiment lately,
Yeah.
it's a lot of what I'm thinking
Uh-huh.
of. Well, it's fine, but like, why?
Uh-huh.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, there was something like what happened with Green Book, where there was another movie that was obviously the front runner,
Uh-huh.
and then something weird happened with that movie, or some actor said something weird, so they were like, "Crap, we can't do this."
Interesting.
Like there's a lot of very obvious behind the scenes movement happening.
Yeah.
That then made, it was something where there was some movie that was really critical of one side of things that poisoned the outlook of it, so then it couldn't really be nominated in that way.
Got it.
And then it ended up being ironic that Green Book won for various reasons.
Sure.
Um,
Anyway,
Script, score, cinematography, score's good. I wasn't as struck by it as the previous ones, and I think that's probably because it wasn't Ludwig Göransson. It was this other guy who was friends with him, I guess. I don't know.
up for debate.
But it was fine. Directing, Michael B. Jordan, I think he did a fantastic job as a first-time director.
I feel like there wasn't anything I noticed out of the ordinary. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't. I think I would be more curious if I had seen more behind the scenes type things. If I would have spent some time on YouTube watching that.
I'd love to see him directing. I want to
Yeah.
see what his style is like.
Yeah, some bonus feature content.
Because he's a cool guy. He's a child actor.
Yeah,
He's been, speaking of The Wire, we talked about on the last episode.
Oh, really? I didn't know he was.
He was a kid in the
wow.
first season of The Wire.
Oh,
He has
wow.
a pivotal role
Oh, cool.
in that first season.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say about that?
Ben, what were you going to say about that?
Also, he's acting and directing. Like, I think,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's sweet. Yeah, like I said, I would like to see more.
I think that's pretty cool and pretty good. And thank you.
Yeah.
Spoilers. We're going to talk about spoilers now because
Oh.
let's get into the story.
Okay.
It's a spoiler alert right now. If you haven't seen the movie, I say yes.
Yeah. I say all three. I say yes to all three. Second one is
Wow.
fine. I say yes to number one for show. I say yes to watching this before. I think you can watch this and not watch any Rocky movies, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think so.
I say watch Creed 1, 2, and 3, and they're good films.
Yeah. I think, were you going to say that 2 is your favorite?
No, I was gonna say 1's my favorite.
Okay.
I said don't watch. If you're gonna skip 1, skip 2.
Really?
I don't know why.
I think that there's some really interesting stuff there. Like, I thought, because we were going to talk a little bit on our retrospective episode, the Lost episode. We're going to talk a little bit about them, and then we never really did. I think it's cool what they did with Drago and his son. I think that they did some interesting stuff to humanize them.
Yeah.
Because in the 80s, Ivan Drago, played by Dolph Lundgren, was just some stereotype, evil, robotic, Russian steroid blasted boxer, evil guy who kills Apollo Creed. And that was it. There was one note to him, and he was the East, and we had to destroy him. And that's all. And in this, you get to see, like, the reason they're coming back is because that destroyed his life.
Right.
His family abandoned him. The country hated him. You see that he's living in Ukraine. He's not even living in Russia anymore. And it's interesting, like, you get that wonderful scene where he comes back and he's in Rock's restaurant and they talk, and that is so good. Where he explains all of that to him.
Yeah.
And you see him pushing his son so hard,
Right.
in ways that I think probably Adonis notices, and that Adonis would grow from in certain ways, that he's now having a child of. Ivan is just repeating this cycle that he started in. He's like pushing this kid as a robot to, you have to beat him. He's in horrible pain. Like, you can push past it. You can win. And you see someone who I think we have to assume is his wife show up, and everyone becomes super tense.
Yeah.
And son gets super upset. And
I
then
think
in
it is
that,
his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that final fight, when he's losing, you start to see the cracks. And you see Ivan start to be like, this has kind of gone too far. Like, this is my son and I care about him, and this is more important than all of this. And the moment that finally changes, when he turns around and sees that the Russian representatives, including his wife, have left.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is for nothing.
Yeah.
There's no point to this.
Throws it in. Yeah.
And he throws in the towel,
Yeah.
and he looks emotional. Like, we're talking about Creed 3 acting. The best acting in Creed 2 is Dolph Lundgren. And that is crazy.
That's cool.
The scene where he gets emotional and throws in the towel, he looks like he's about to cry, realizing what he's been doing to his son and what has happened in this fight to his son and the horrible pain that he's been in. And it's emotional. And you even get that moment at the end where the two of the fighters are like, I see you, man. You're good. I do not hold this against you. And there's just one shot at the end of that movie that kind of implies that there's going to be a change in that relationship. And that's Ivan and his son, whose name I can't remember, obviously, because I haven't said it up to this point. I've mentioned it 100 times. There's the two of them back in Russia or Ukraine or wherever they're living, and they're just going on a jog. Victor, that's right. And they're like going on a jog. They're just training. And that's it. Like, they're just working together, but it's like they're going together. It's not Ivan in the car, you know?
And we find out in Creed 3 that Victor is still boxing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're friendly. And I love that. So that's why that's something I really loved about Creed 3, is bringing him back as the sparring partner.
Yeah.
Which is something that kind of reminds me of the early Rocky movies of bringing back Apollo, and Apollo being the person that he trains against, that he spars with.
Yeah, interesting.
So I really loved that, especially because I was such a fan of their storyline in Creed 2.
I think it does a great job paying homage to those things. Homage.
Yeah.
And you don't need to know it to watch it, but it makes it all the sweeter, all the better, that you can recognize that and be like, oh wow, that's a cool connection. That's making me think of this from the previous movies. Or, you know, it's not they don't have to retcon anything. They don't have to make things make sense from the past, but they can use it as little pieces of the story.
Fuel.
Because
that's really what this movie is doing a lot of. Because, like I said, the original Rocky is, this guy has dropped out of the fight. What are we going to do? We need somebody for this prize fight. This guy has a cool name. He's a boxer. I see him on this list. Let's get him in here.
Yeah.
And that's how Rocky goes for the heavyweight championship. And it's this big thing because he's the underdog and all that. So that's the leverage that Damien uses to get himself into the fight. To say, listen, your dad gave Rocky a chance, and now that's a legendary story. Why can't you do that for me?
Yeah.
Kind of trying to guilt trip Adonis a lot. And eventually it works. He has to then make this other fighter drop out, in order to do that, he gets the other guy from the prison to
pays a guy, a hitman, to
hit him
go-
off.
Yeah,
Hit him off. Yep.
jerk him off.
Oh
So-
boy. And then he does get into that fight. And it's even similar to Rocky 4. Because
Yeah.
then you get Adonis's guy, who he's been training, just like Rocky has then been the trainer helping out Apollo.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, who's this monster, takes down, almost kills this other dude.
Yeah, right?
So
That's
you
cool.
get Adonis now in the position that Rocky was in when his father was killed. So it's this really interesting role reversal. You get a lot of this history coming back.
Yeah.
And I think that's so cool. But what they don't do is turn Damien into an evil bad guy.
Yeah, you're always like kind of rooting for him a little bit.
Yeah,
Even
well, you're
in the
not
fi-
rooting for him,
I don't.
but you
I
do.
kinda was
When
but
you
yeah.
get to that final fight,
Uh-huh.
you understand.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you get to that final fight, and when they start doing the flashback stuff and the void, you can see, like, they're showing you visually, maybe he is putting on this really hard front, but maybe there is something still below that he's like, this is his friend, and he's
Yeah.
he's bitter, but he understands why.
Well, and that's also like Adonis's hero's journey through the demons of his past. The line that hit me the hardest, which I think obviously it's not that creative of a line, but
Yeah.
Adonis is back in his corner, and who's his trainer?
Duke.
Duke sits him down and is like, "Hey man, you're holding on to all that stuff. Like, forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Forgive yourself and let go of it and start fighting."
Yeah.
And that's like the moment where that's what he needs to get to win the fight.
Yeah.
He needs to like forgive himself for mistakes of a teenager.
Yeah.
And I think that is what most people discover through therapy. So maybe just become a professional boxer. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think forgiving yourself for mistakes of when you didn't know better or when you were a teenager
Yeah.
and
Because it's a mistake from his perspective.
right.
But it's also what any kid would do in
Yeah.
that situation.
Yeah.
And talking specifically for the people who are still listening to this and maybe haven't seen the movie,
Yeah.
about when they were young, Damien was the prize fighter in the gold gloves, whatever. And Adonis was like his guy in the corner a little bit. And they were going to go and celebrate after Damien won a big fight. And they're like 14, 15, 16 maybe. And there's a guy who used to beat them when they were at the family home or the foster home, whatever it is. And Adonis starts to attack him. That guy's guys come and start to attack Adonis. And then Damien, who is clearly from a rougher part of town, from a rougher kind of upbringing.
They all are. Yeah.
Yeah, than Adonis is at that point at least.
Well, even then, they're both in the home together.
Well, no, Adonis is living with...
I don't know if he is at that point.
No, he is. He
Oh,
sneaks
really?
out.
Oh, how did I miss that?
Yeah,
I thought
Felicia
it was
Rashad, slightly de-aged, leans her head in the window and or in the door and is like, Adonis, Adonis, and he's
Got it.
pretending to be asleep and he
Got
sneaks
it,
out.
got it.
So he's living in, nice house at that point.
Got it. Okay.
And then, so there's already this rift between them that we get to see. But then Damien is still in the group home, and presumably, and he's got a gun, and he pulls a gun on these guys. He gets basically arrested, put away for however many years because he's got priors. Adonis runs. So that's the driving conflict here of why he's coming back, because Damien says, you stole my life. You're living the life that I was going to have.
Yeah.
Because I was the great fighter. I was going to do all that. I got put away, and you never responded to my letters and all this.
Yeah, they never. You left me there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You never talked.
From his perspective, I've been abandoned, and you took everything that we did together and just did it for yourself. And yeah, I would be upset.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
Also, what a wound that you carry when you did care for somebody, and we learn, halfway through the movie that the letters never got to him, and all this stuff,
Which was an easy guess.
Yeah.
That,
yeah,
of
yeah.
course, like, mom kept those letters.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, it's tough forgiving yourself even when somebody else doesn't forgive you.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's real life. And so I think as they're in the ring fighting each other, what you were saying, you can tell there's this past for both of them, but Adonis has reached this point of forgive himself, or at least that's the line that spoke to me, and I think that's the turning point in the fight too. So
and it's not about the heavyweight championship; it's about them,
right?
And that's really well exemplified by the Void.
Yeah, that's cool.
The Void was so cool.
Yeah.
Because that's something where Michael B. Jordan has talked in interviews very cleverly, very slyly, about how sometimes in anime you'll get these things where you see inside a character's head, where it focuses just on them as these big moments are happening, and you see the dramatic stakes of all of it. And that's 100% now knowing, having seen the movie, he's just talking about this scene.
Gotcha.
Where it's just the two of them alone in this stadium. Totally dark except for right there. There's no music. It's just sound effects in a big empty void. And it is so good because you really get the stakes there. And you really understand it's this guy versus this guy. And this is them trying to settle their differences and understand each other. This has nothing to do with the championship. Adonis couldn't care less about that. And I don't think that at that point, Damien cares about that either.
Yeah.
It's about getting one over on him. And it isn't until he loses that fight, I think, that he realizes what has happened and that he gains that humility. And that's what I love, is that just like in in Creed 2, when they don't turn Ivan into this crazy evil man, or Victor into this evil man who's like unrepentant.
Yeah.
They do the same thing in this, where he goes back after this big fight. He goes back to the locker room and they have this conversation, and it's short and they don't say much, but it's clear that we're good. We understand. This went too far. I've said too much. I understand why this is what happened. And we can move beyond this.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a cool change from the Rocky movies. Because, I mean, maybe Rocky started that way, but as it went on, it was very much, this is the villain, this is the bad guy.
Right.
And these movies aren't that way.
Yeah.
And I think so much of the time in sports, that is the way it is in real life. Is you get these guys who set up the big fight, and you get some of that inside baseball in this, of they're setting up this fight, but these guys are talking to each other behind the scenes. Conor McGregor doesn't actually hate... what's the guy, Pacquiao, that he fought or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Manny Pacquiao? I don't know. But it's like they're not actually... They probably talk. They're probably actually somewhat friendly after the fact. It's all a show, just like WWE is. And you get some of that personal stuff sometimes, like the guy who kept calling Muhammad Ali by his old name after he changed it. And then he kept telling him, like, it was supposed to be a fun fight, like an exhibition fight. Yeah. And he kept telling him, like, dude, you call me by my name or it's going to be a real fight.
Yeah.
And then he knocked him out. And so you can hear him yelling, what's my name now, huh?
That's wild.
And it's like, that stuff is really cool.
Yeah. Or that makes me think about John Jones and Daniel Cormier in the UFC. They like just hate each other in real life.
Yeah.
Like, but anyway,
but
yeah,
so much of the time,
there's like
that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
You look at soccer, and these guys will foul each other and do horrible hits, and then they're helping each other up, and they're like, dude, you all right? You good?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
And boxing is a beautiful game, too.
Dude, yeah, boxing does have so much history that I would love to spend more time learning about.
Yeah.
But what you were saying, Jonathan Majors does a great job giving this complex villain.
It is a complex performance.
Like the whole thing is super complex. You see where he's coming from. He's, they cut back to great writing, great directing, cutting back to him in his little apartment working out on his own, or taking off the ankle bracelet, the house arrest bracelet before he gets into the ring, and all
even
that
in
stuff
that final
is
fight.
it's like
he's still under the thumb of the
your
government.
life has been hard, and I think going into the final fight as a viewer, I felt like if either of them won, it would be right, or it would be okay, But I think, actually, I heard an interview with Stallone on this, that in a Rocky movie, the good guy does win, or there's the person you're rooting for overcomes the adversity. Yeah. And I think it was important that Adonis does overcome the adversity in this, or I think walking away the victor final scene with him and his family in the ring. Like, I think
That was nice.
I'm glad that it did resolve that way. Even though it may be cheesy, or even though it may be like, oh yeah, of course the good guy always wins, whatever. I think concluding the story of his journey through his arc through this film, maybe through all three, I don't know. I think landing there with him the victor still, I think was nice.
Victor is a different character.
No, shut up.
This feels like an ending to me.
You think?
Yes. I don't think that there's more to do with Adonis. I don't think he's getting back in the ring, at least.
Yeah,
I think that he could move into a Rocky role, but then you run into the issue of we're just doing Creed again now.
Right.
Because now we've got the former champ training a new person, and it seems like maybe they're setting up... Was the daughter named Amara?
The actress is Mila. I'm blanking on... Let me pull up. Fun fact that I discovered, I'm pulling up IMDb. Did you know they have IMDb Pro now and they don't give you all the info? You have to pay for it?
I thought IMDb Pro was more for like... It's like LinkedIn almost.
Oh. Well, I tried to look up the production crew and it didn't. Amara is her name.
Amara.
Right, yeah.
It seems like they're almost setting up Amara as like the next protagonist. The way that they do a little bit of like... She's fighting in class and we need to train her with stuff like that. And I think
cool.
that's good. And she's a cute... wonderful little actress, and I think she does a great job. Are we gonna wait?
I feel
or
like
are we
that
gonna
turns
age
into
her up?
like the redo of Karate Kid. Like I feel like that turns into like a Disney teen movie.
Or even then, it could still just be Creed again, because it's just the Creed dynasty.
Yeah,
you have to be a Creed to be the greatest fighter of all time, and everyone else is not.
Does Michael B. Jordan just move into the director role? And
I don't know. I'm curious to see what he will do.
I feel like these Creed 1, 2, 3 box office success. Michael B. Jordan now as a director.
Yeah.
I think he probably wants to keep moving with the title, with the what's the word? It's not franchise. What's it called when you have the rights to the
rights?
Yeah, I guess there's a word.
Well, there are a few things in development that we know are in development.
Okay,
including, I believe, an anime.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they are actually doing an anime.
Sweet.
There are rumors that they are doing a project about Amara in some way.
Okay.
Like, I don't like this trend of everything turning into a Star Wars, where now we've got 100 shows and TVs and everything. I don't think we need that in Star Wars, and I don't think that we need that in most everything else.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think when you turn everything into a cinematic universe, it becomes too much.
Yeah.
I really miss the days when we just had a movie and then that was it, and then it didn't get anything else after that.
I mean, but also how much of that is like Stallone's disagreement with where it's going? Of, he wants to keep it in-house and not expand it out to...
Well, Stallone has no problem with any of that. That's all Michael B. Jordan.
Sure.
He loves Michael B. Jordan.
Okay.
He thinks he's wonderful. He thinks he's a great actor, and he's not going to watch this movie because of his problems with the producer.
Got it.
So who knows if he'll see him as a good director. If he directs something else, maybe he will. But as long as Winkler is attached to this, or whatever that guy's name is, he's not going to watch it, unfortunately. I'm sure, like Stallone has talked about, he supports Michael in everything he's doing. It's just the other guy that he has an issue with.
I think they do at least one more movie, but...
I think they could. I don't know what it would be,
I agree with you, but I think someone greenlights it somewhere because it's probably easy money.
Because, I mean, Rocky 4 was already Rocky kind of past his prime, being like, okay, I'm done fighting. I'm good now. I'm just doing exhibitions with Hulk Hogan, and that's it. Which is also kind of based on true events.
Real life.
And then Rocky 5, he's moving into that, well, I guess I'm a mentor role, and it's just kind of nothing. And you have to kind of manufacture drama somewhere else, and that's where the stuff with the son comes in. And I don't want them to just do that with Amara.
I think this could be done now, and it would.
I think it could end, and it would be satisfying of an ending.
Yeah, I think so.
It has a very nice final scene.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of wraps it all up.
Yeah, because this movie begins with him supposedly past his prime,
right,
winning the heavyweight championship in South Africa.
Yeah, and then he becomes the...
Well, they skip ahead in time.
He's the guy who's going to be... I'm getting the fights for Victor. I'm getting the fights for... I'm setting up the fights because I run the ring in L.A. and
he's got the gym. He's teaching now.
Yeah.
I don't know. They could do more. I kind of hope they don't. at least in the movie realm. If they do an anime, I'll watch a boxing anime. Sport animes are good. Ben,
Yep.
we went long a little bit.
It's okay.
And it's been a good episode.
Yeah, it's been a good episode.
I think this is a good movie. We both said yes already. A little if this, that. Oh, do I have any special notes? Nope. If this, then that. Watch the Rocky movies. Watch the Creed movies.
Yeah.
If you like boxing movies, check out Raging Bull. Check out Cinderella Man. Other ones. There's another one that I can't think of that's a boxing movie.
With what's his name from Venom? Tom Hardy.
Venom.
Tom
Bronson?
No, what's his name?
I was not going to suggest Bronson. It's Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy boxing.
Yeah,
It's
Bronson.
No, Warrior.
Oh, haven't seen that.
It's supposed to be pretty good.
Oh, you want to know something funny?
Yeah.
Laura watched that recently.
Warrior.
Yep.
Okay.
And she texted me and was like, "Thank you for the suggestion. That movie was great." And I said, "What movie?" She said, "Warrior." And I was like, "I am not quite sure I even know what that is."
Wait, really? I think Elijah recommended it in the.
That's what I think happened.
in the.
I think that maybe at some point I put it on her HBO list
Uh-huh.
because I was like, "Oh, I've heard of that, and I think it's good."
Gotcha.
And then she probably listened to the sports episode, and then confused that with me
got it.
because I've not seen that.
Gotcha.
There was also
it's
another
about,
conversation
It's about
we
MMA,
had.
not boxing. But yeah.
Yeah. There was another conversation we had at some point where we were talking about a different movie that I think also had Warrior, the last duel. There was something where like the translation was weird, and she was asking me about some movie, and I thought she was asking me about The Last Duel.
Oh.
And I think I was like,
about that.
"Oh, that's what this is called in English. You should watch that." I loved it. I watched it on the plane, and I think it's really good, and it should have gotten more attention. And it's just not the movie she watched at all.
Got it. Okay.
I would talk about that movie on the show. I think it's
Last Duel?
really good.
I saw it on an airplane, but 3 rows up and over an aisle from somebody else.
Okay, so you need to watch it.
So yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing.
We should outro this.
Okay, yeah.
Thanks everyone for listening to the show. This has been the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we hope you enjoy the next podcast. We don't know what it's going to be. We just did our finally. We did a twofer. We just recorded our last episode and this episode in one, so we're not sure what next time is going to be.
Maybe Mario.
Check out the maybe you can think of something, man.
Anyway,
We do Gladiator.
check out the what?
Yeah, check out all the different social medias if you want to keep up to date on what we're doing. If you want to see what the next episode is going to be, I usually post on there. I've been busy, but I'm trying to carve that time out now. I'm figuring that out. But that's Cinema Lounge Pod on Instagram, on Facebook, on other places. You can find me at mparish_art. And yeah,
You can find Ben in person.
you can find Ben in person. And thank everyone for listening. We don't toast on this one because it's CLP. And we didn't toast on the last episode.
Oh no.
We're going to do a toast right now, and I'll put it in the last episode, and I'll take it out of this one.
Okay, bye everybody.
We have to toast right now.
Oh, okay.
Bye, everyone. I've been Marshall.
I've been Ben.
Okay. Hi, everyone. We're doing another cut in because we forgot to toast.
Thanks to our sponsor.
Empyrean
Brewing.
Empyrean Brewing. We're having pitched blue. Oh, also, there's no video for this part because we turned all that off.
So we're in the dark. Actually, there is video.
There's video. It's just really dark in
Really
here.
dark in here.
We were watching a movie, and the movie just ended.
We're toasting.
And now it's dark.
Yep.
What were we talking about?
Here's
The Oscars. We have to toast the Oscars.
That's something you can toast. Do you want to toast first? I usually toast first. You want to do it?
No, you have to toast
Okay.
first.
So here's a toast to toast. You put it in as bread. It pops out as toast. Hopefully you put peanut butter on it if your back isn't spasming.
Yep.
Toast is there for us when no one else is, when
Good
everyone
callback.
else is gone.
Great callback.
And you are stuck on a couch
A lot of
/
connective tissue.
gaming chair. Toast.
Really makes it feel
It's
like we
what's for
recorded
dinner.
it at that time.
Thank you. I have great memory. And to toast at the Oscars. Next year, let's eat some toast and watch the Oscars.
Ben,
Yes.
here's to the nominees, to the winners, except for Jamie Lee Curtis, to
Damn.
Ki Hui Kwan, that just jubilant little man, jumping up and down everywhere he goes, Brandon Fraser, that guy coming back from the dead, entombed in a sarcophagus. ready to roll, ready to jump up and down with his friend Key, the Encino men, back again. Let's all have some fun. And we're gonna go and have a party. Welcome to the after party, the Vanity Fair after party from the Oscars. Let's have a good time. Let's have a great time. That's all.
Turn into drunk uncle at wedding toast.
Listen, I'm just almost done.
Get off the mic.
Everybody, I just want you to know, I really enjoyed the Oscars. I thought they were really good.
This is what the Vanity Fair party is like, apparently.
My favorite part is when the cocaine bear showed up and the donkey from Banshees of Inisherin. The Banshees of Inisherin. The Inisherin. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Cheers.
Cheers. Stink and sink. Oh, boy. That is something.
I'm not actually drunk, guys.
Don't worry.
However, this is...
Just 10 o'clock.
It is not 10 o'clock. It's 10:08, idiot.
This
is 5.5.
It's not so bad.
It's not so bad, but it's also one can.
And you skipped dinner.
No, I did have this before my stew.
Yeah.
And then I had some more of this after my stew.
Why are you all listening still? Go home. Turn off the podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
Go
we love you.
home.
We're having a good time making this show, and we hope you enjoy listening to it and watching it.
Yeah.
Even as we change setups, as we slowly change and improve as human beings.
Wow, beautiful.
Here's to that.
Just like Adonis Creed, go watch that.
I've been
podcast
Marshall.
Next, everybody. I've been Ben again.